Friday Main Event Class 1A Region Preview Show. I'm Mike Molder. He is Lee Teat. Lee, we like to do these shows every year, and typically we'll start them off by kind of recapping what happened the season before.
Sure.
And we'll do that today as well. We appreciate all you guys tuning in for these region preview shows. This is the first of 6 region preview shows we'll do. This is, again, the 1A edition, Lee. And last year, kind of a four-headed monster like we expected.
Well, we thought, last year we had Greenback, South Pittsburgh in the east, and Huntington and Lake County from the west, and it all held true. They all got to the semifinals and made for some exciting playoff football there towards the end.
It did, Lee, and if you look over at that east side of the bracket, South Pittsburgh was a team we really liked a lot. We went up there and watched them actually against Meigs last year.
That's right.
And we felt they would have an easy run through the playoffs, and they did. They run into Joe Burns, Clay County. Gordonsville had really no problem with those those 3 teams, but it did come at a huge expense because quarterback Braden Sanders, starting junior quarterback, was injured in that Gordonsville game, quarterfinal game, Lee. Despite that, they still led Greenback in the semifinal game at halftime, but eventually did fall by a score of 27-26. Greenback made their 4th trip to the finals in 5 years.
Greg Ryan rolling, ain't he?
He's rolling, man.
Well, like I said, on the west, Lake County had very little resistance coming in and through the playoffs. Had Booker T. Washington, Mace, and West Carroll. M-A-S-E, I should say. I call it Mace.
Yeah.
But anyways, they faced an excellent Huntington team in the semifinals.
Yeah.
They won that game 30-20, and they were led, I think, all the way through the playoffs by Tanner Snyder. That's a solid young man, and kept it rolling all the way into Cookville.
I really enjoyed watching him up there in Cookville.
Yes,
That was the first time we had got to meet him and his dad. Great folks. But like you say, despite the fact the final of the 1A title game was 38-23, the game was a lot closer than what that final indicates. I think Greenback actually led that game.
Sure did.
Lee, early in the 4th quarter. They were going in, they were leading by 1, if I remember right, going in for potentially an 8-point, 9-point lead. And Josh Puckett's youngest son, Caden Puckett, intercepts the pass inside their own 5-yard line. And I think they wound up scoring 16 unanswered points from there on out. And you said it, Tanner Snyder, our guy, quarterback for Lake County, led his team to their 3rd title in 6 championship appearances, and he was named the MVP.
That's right. Great ball game, too.
Great ball game, man. I loved watching the small schools. I thought the games were more exciting in the 1A and 2A class than any of the other ones. Lake County, man, they didn't disappoint. They looked as good as we anticipated. Well, Lee, that was 2019. I think the people who are watching this show now, they want to hear what we feel is going to happen here in 2020, if anything happens.
It's the craziest year I've ever lived in, I can tell you that.
It is, man. It is insane. Still 51 teams in Class 1A. Only 6 new coaches, which is kind of unusual. Typically at the 1A level, you'll see a lot more turnover because typically the coaches that move into the openings in the higher classifications, of course, you're generating a lot of turnover. But I guess the COVID-19 situation, not a lot of turnover in Class 1A.
No, not a lot of turnover.
So you're looking at Region 1, Lee. That was one of the regions that did have a new coaching change, and not really a new change, but Scott Potter, the head coach at Cloudland, loses the interim tag. And rightfully so, Lee. Based on how they finished out, I think they started the season 1-4 under Glenn White. In comes Scott Potter, and they went 5-7 to close out the season.
Right.
Really impressive.
Yep. I tell you what, Mike, in Class 1, Region 1, I like Cloudland at the 1 spot again.
I
do.
What's that? 6 years in a row. I think their last region loss was 2014, Lee. They've dominated this region. Now I think that went back to the Z-Plan days when they had their last region loss. So I agree with you. I think the Highlanders are easily the team to beat in 1A. Eli Presswood, big offensive lineman, senior, comes back to lead the charge for those guys. Chase out, Bentley Gilbert, and of course Hayden Singleton are among the kids listed as leaders for this Cloudland team this year. Looking at second place team from last year, Lee, Hancock County. What's your thoughts on the Indians? Is that can they go by the Indians? Is that politically correct?
In 2020, who knows?
Who knows?
Man.
Yeah. So
who knows?
What do you think about the Indians this year?
I like them at the 2 spot. What's interesting, about this particular region, Mike, is they border like Northern Kentucky and Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Kentucky and Virginia.
Right.
So they play a lot of teams. This particular region plays a lot of teams from out of state. Well, we all know Virginia's canceled their football season.
Yeah.
How are they going to handle this? Maybe we can discuss this going a little bit here, but 3 of their games this year for Hancock County are against Virginia.
So we know they're down 3 games right out the gate.
Out of the gate. And we know that in this scenario of playoffs that we may run into, depending upon how things go between now and what's the date, August the 10th, I think.
Well, I think August the 3rd is the drop dead date as of now. If he rescinds the orders prior to August the 3rd, then the season goes as scheduled. And then beginning after August the 3rd, region games that are in week 1, and there's not a lot of them, then those would be rescheduled. And the further along we go prior to a possible cancellation, the more games obviously get moved or canceled.
Well, best right now, I think the scenario is though going to be the top 2 teams from each region advance.
Yes,
correct.
And I can't see them getting anything done before August 3rd.
That's right.
It's not looking that way.
So this is going to be interesting because every region game matters.
Right.
These teams have lost games, out-of-state games,
and
you and I have discussed this before. Are they going to have to play twice and one game be considered a non-region game?
I think that's what makes the most sense, because when you're going out trying to find games to replace, like you said, Hancock County, they got 3 games against Virginia teams. We know they're dropped. The most obvious thing and the easiest thing to do would be to schedule a second region game. I think the way the TSSAA lays this scenario out, and this happened before, is the second game between, like, for instance, if Hancock County played Jellicoe a second time in the regular season, that would be considered a non-region game. And I think you're going to see a lot of regions potentially go to something like that if they can't find games.
Right, especially there because, like you said, everything around them now, Kentucky's even still, I think, up in the air. So.
Yeah, they're hurting. Obviously, they're going out of state. They're having trouble finding opponents. So I think it's either going to be that or they just play a very limited schedule. I mean, that's the only options they've got.
Right.
But looking at his Hancock County, Lee, Javen Delph, fullback senior, he returns. Hunter Hatfield at wide receiver, he's a junior. Tyler Gibson, Devin Blevins is listed as a DB quarterback, senior, among the leaders for Brandon Gibbs' team. Brandon Gibbs 12-32, Lee, in his 4 years there at Hancock County, 3-8 last year. Ironically, and you and I talked about that, they haven't won more than 3 games, Lee, in the past 3 years, but they've hosted a playoff game. That's the downside to a 4-team region. I hate a 4-team region.
Well, I don't like 6 classifications, and
I don't either.
We like I said, we talked about this before, man. I talked to my son this weekend a little bit about this, and I liked it. Top 2 teams from the region advancing.
I do too.
I don't think you should give and no offense, but a 3-8 team shouldn't be hosting a playoff.
Absolutely not. I mean, even a team like Utica with 2 wins on the season, why would they be even, considered for postseason play? And no offense to Coach Bennett, but I don't think a 2-win team belongs in the postseason.
Well, I mean, no, they're just playing by what's presented.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. He's playing by what's presented, and they're going to the playoffs.
Exactly.
But like I said, I think we got way too many classifications, and I actually like the fact that the top 2 teams are going to advance.
I do too. I like it in most instances. Now, I do have some sympathy for like an 8 or 9 team region. And you got teams potentially going to finish 7-3, 8-2, and that happened last year with 4 teams going. So it's going to be even worse this year. I mean, I know of a couple of 7-3 teams that didn't make the playoffs because they've lost out on tiebreakers. So that side of it I hate. That's where I would like to see them maybe institute, I guess I'm going back to the Z plan, but maybe potentially a wild card system to where, the highest non-qualifiers, maybe slide them in as a wild card. I don't know. I see a potential 8-2 team, maybe even 9-1. I mean, if you had if you had 3 teams that finished 9-1, that's a possibility. You potentially have a 9-1 team miss the playoffs. Now, I don't like that. And it could happen.
It can.
It can. That's the downside to it. So I think there should be something in place for teams like that to still make the postseason. Anyway, we've got way out in left field here, Lee. The third place team, Jellicoe, the Devils, 3-8 last year. They got knocked out by Oliver Springs, 42-6 in the first round. Again, 3 of these teams did lose in the first round. Cloudland was the only Region 1 team to advance. Lee, what do you think about the starters coming back for Jellicoe?
They got Jordan King, Cade Evans, Joseph Paul's a senior quarterback, which we like.
Mm-hmm.
Like our senior leadership, obviously.
Right.
They got Isaiah Campbell coming in, Carter Bolton, Bodie Hamlin. All looks like juniors and seniors.
Yep.
And they do have 7 returners on offense and 6 on defense. But, Mike, I mean, is there any room for them to move up in this region?
Maybe to 2. I don't think they're there against Cloudland yet.
Yeah.
Unica, Lee, was the 4th place team. The Rangers, Coach Bennett, 2-9. One bright spot, Lee, to this Unica team. Is it Unica or Unica? I get into this every year, and I always mispronounce it. I want to say somebody told me it was Unica last year.
Unica.
Yeah, it's one or the other. I think I was mispronouncing it last year, and I got correct. And I'm going to – this is a good time to mention this, Lee. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of stuff on these shows, so just cut me a little slack. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Well, I believe it is Unica. I believe somebody corrected me on that last year. At any rate, Landon Ramsey Lee, I think the bright spot for this team.
Yes.
He was a freshman last year. Pretty good numbers, 1,578 yards, 15 TDs, 11 INTs. We're going to see that number come down a little bit, but he was a freshman.
That's right.
So what's your thought on the Rangers? Any possibility they advance out of that 4th spot, which they seem to live in?
I think they can. I really do.
So they dodge Greenback. Do they finally dodge Greenback?
I think they can because they got 8 returning starters on offense and 9 on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, yes, they had a freshman quarterback last year, but he grew up a lot. Now he's a sophomore, but if you look what's around him, senior offensive linemen, junior wide receivers, sophomore tailback, but senior offensive line.
Yeah, Kobe Jones and I think Nathaniel Oakes, 2 seniors that should be, helping his calls up front. And like you said, the wide receivers, led by Drew Smith and Devin Ramsey. I could see it, man. I could see them moving up into that 3rd, possibly 2nd spot.
That's right.
All right, Lee, let's move on down. And again, we're going to project them the way they finished last year. But I think potentially you see some movement there.
I do too.
All right, Lee, Region 2, which has been dominated by Greenback.
Yes.
Any changes there? What do you think about Greg Ryan's squad this year?
I think they're sitting right at the top again in Region 2, and I fully expect them to make a deep playoff run. I really do. I mean, interesting to me is going to see how Dakota Garland does.
Okay.
Took over for Carnes. Carnes had a huge year, threw for over 4,000 yards and 50-some TDs.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see how he does, but I think the one thing in the playoffs this year that Greenback's going to have to work on during the season and get shored up is the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
I think offensively, Greg Ryan's fine.
Right.
Defensively this year, he's going to have to – I think they'll have to do a little work.
Well, they lost, in addition to Carnes, they lost Hunter Willis,
Yes.
who was just amazing, great two-way player, Duke Stennett, Wyatt Ruckerson, a lot of big-name kids. They only got 4 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. So a lot of new names in that lineup, among them Austin Berger. They are big up front, though, Lee. We like that. Colton Alexander, over 300 pounds. Bubba Jeffries, 6'4", 290 as a freshman. You know, he's still growing. So he's going to grow into a huge D1 prospect, no doubt. So I like him up front. And as you said, if Garland can mature and take over that offense, I don't see any reason why they're not there again this year. Moving down to Oliver Springs, your sleeper last year, Lee, Larry Green's squad finished up double-digit wins, 10-3. Did lose to Greenback in the third round. What's your thoughts on the Bobcats this year?
Well, like you said, he was 10-3, lost twice to Greenback. That's pretty solid, buddy. I don't understand the Oneida loss. That was in the first game of the year. But
Oneida was a pretty solid 2A team.
Solid.
So,
But I like Oliver Springs. I think they're going to be right there at that 2 spot again, competing with Coalfield. But I think Oliver Springs, I'm going to give them the edge because they had a solid season last year, and I think that momentum's going to keep rolling.
You like Oliver spot. I think I like Coalfield. I've been a big fan of Keith Henry. I think he does a really good job there at Coalfield. He's 103-47 in his 12 years there. So they actually had a title run, or they made it to the title game, Lee. If you remember, about maybe 6-7 years ago.
I believe that's
you and I were up there. They had that big lineman. His name escapes me now, but point being, Coalfield typically a very good team. If you took their losses against Greenback out over the last 5 years, they would have. They would have been probably in multiple title games had it not been that hadn't to go through Greenback. That's kind of been their kryptonite, it seems, over the last 5 or 6 years. They began the season 6-1 last year. I expect them to have a pretty quick start again this year behind Seth Lowe at running back, Kanan Bowling, another good running back, Hayden Hicks, tight end. They've got up and down Landon Lowe. They got him listed as an athlete junior. So they've got talent there for that Yellow Jacket squad. I like them to edge out the Bobcats and avenge that 27-0 loss last year.
Really?
I do. I like it. Moving on down, Lee Harriman. What's your thoughts on Travis Tapp's Blue Devil squad?
What has he got? 6-4, 6 offensive players coming back and 4 on the defensive side of the ball. Had a 3-8 season last year. Is there any room here between trying to get over a Coalfield or an Oliver Springs out of that 4 hole?
Well, what you gotta like is the fact that they got off to a terrible start, lost 6 out of their first 7 games, but they kind of rebounded there toward the end of the season and was able to snatch a couple of wins. Played Cloudland, well, not really that close, 21-point loss. I don't know, Lee. I think it's going to be tough for them to climb out of that 4 spot, to be honest with you.
I do too.
And it may be hard for them to hold on to that 4 spot.
Yes, sir. And that's what I was about to discuss here.
Yeah,
with Midway.
Midway, exactly. What are your thoughts on Midway?
Well, I like Midway. The reason I say they may jump into that 4 and potentially compete for a 3, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because Coach Treadway was 5-5 in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Lost to Harriman by 1 point last year.
Right.
But they got to go to Harriman this year.
Right.
But I think he was 5-5 in his first year, and I think he's got his feet under him now at Midway.
And they've got a lot of kids.
A lot of kids that are juniors and seniors.
A lot of contributors. Caleb Goodman, wide receiver, junior. And then they've got Brady Snow, the big offensive lineman senior, is going to kind of lead the way up front. Emmett Hagelin is it Hagelin? I'm sorry, it's Hagelin. Hagelin is expected to be QB junior. Mm-hmm. And then you got Brewer, another receiver, senior. You got Webb, a good defensive end, leading the senior leader on the defensive side of the ball. So they got some pieces in place there.
They do.
So Midway, the Green Wave, potentially moving up into a playoff spot. We got Sunbright and Oakdale rounding out the bottom 2, Lee. Neither team very good seasons last year. Joe Kent squad 3-7, 1-5 in region play, and then of course Oakdale Eagles 1-9, 0-6. They do have 7 starters back on both sides of the ball. Any action on these 2 teams any movement?
I can't see it, Mike.
I can't see it either. I think
I'd love to see it, but I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball here. We're just kind of what we do, and just to explain, normally we go to practices and we watch practices and we watch scrimmages. So we hadn't had the luxury of doing that this year.
Neither have the teams.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So we're putting a lot of stock in how teams have traditionally done.
Yeah, trends,
and that's what we're basing a lot of this on. Teams that have a lot of talent coming back and played well against the schedule last year. We're kind of basing our opinions and our projections off of that.
Yes, sir.
So don't take it to the bank, anything you hear here tonight. All right, Lee, I tell you what to do. We're going to put our projections up for our Region 1 and 2 for the audience to see, and then we'll come right back to the show after that. All right, no. All right, Lee, that was a look at Regions 1 and 2. We're going to move on to Regions 3 and 4. And Region 3 contains the team you and I had in our preseason number 1, Lee, and that's Vic Grider's South Pittsburgh Pirates. We love this team this year. Wouldn't you agree?
Right now, Mike, odds on state champs.
I think so too, Lee. I actually had a buddy of ours, Power P. I don't know if he wanted me to identify him or not. He kind of got in touch with me on Twitter the other day, and he was telling me a little bit of stuff we didn't know about that team.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually had 4 key points he wanted me to be aware of. One of them was Miles Walters comes back as a kicker, Lee, and he's telling me that he had a number of touchbacks. And at the 1A level, having that at any level is invaluable.
Yes, sir.
But having a kid that can kick it through the end zone and make you go 80 yards every time, and he said Walters actually was getting really good at hanging the ball up inside the 5-yard line, and they were actually getting tackles inside the 20 by him doing that. So he's a huge weapon for him. He's happy about that. He said, everybody knows about the stable of backs they've got coming back, Hunter Frame, DeAndre Kelly. Yeah. That's the names we know. He tells me that they've got a kid coming in, Chris Jackson, Lee, and he's the fastest kid on the team. He said he's a kid nobody knows about. He's in the low 4.5 range, 40-yard dash, and he said this is a kid you're going to hear a lot about. The third point he wanted us to mention was the fact that their line, they did lose a few. Most of them are back, Lee Teat, and he said they've got a couple of monsters coming in. He's got a kid. They got a kid that's 6'8", 365. No, that's what he said. That's what he said. That's a big
old boy,
freaking kid right there. Then he said they had a 6'4", 290. So you combine these two kids with what they already had back. Lee, you love the line play. And then the fourth point he wanted to mention was the wide receivers.
Yep.
He said that they've always had a wide receiver, but he said they've got 3 kids between 6'2" and 6'4" that Sanders will have as targets.
Well, the problem, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Coach Grider's going to have his hands full because he has so many athletes. Getting them touches.
Yep.
They're going to have to pick and choose.
That's what he said. Read the notes there. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That might be the problem is getting the ball spread around to keep everybody happy.
Well, I mean, they'll pick and choose, but the problem is going to be they'll take advantage of every matchup. Mm-hmm. One night it may be DeAndre Kelly is the matchup problem.
Exactly.
To be one of these Hunter brothers could be a matchup trouble for a different team. So I think Coach Grider, what I say he's got his hands full is, feeding that ball to that matchup.
Yeah, that's true.
And other teams it's going to be a nightmare. I really, at this point in the season, barring any type of injury, because Braden went down last year in the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals.
Yep.
Barring injury, I think right now odds on South Pittsburgh is hands down probably the most talented team top to bottom.
I do too.
Most weapons.
And I think out of all 6 classes, and throw Alcoa out of the picture, but well, yeah, I think Alcoa is really the only classification that 3A. I mean that you have a clear cut number 1 team, and I think South Pittsburgh is right there this year.
I do. I think so
we
too.
talked about having the 4 teams. We didn't know which direction to go last year. I think South Pittsburgh is clearly the team to beat in 1A this year.
They definitely got a target on them.
They got a big old bullseye on that bag, don't they?
Yes, sir.
But we like the Pirates, Vic Grider's squad. I think they're going to be really tough this year. We mentioned some of them. They got Jared Stone, another kid, Hubbard, Ryan Cagle. I mean, you can say they're
Hunter Frame.
Yeah, Hunter Frame. You can go on and on. I mean, all the names they got. It's set. I read Donovan Stewart's thing today. I didn't even realize this 1A capsule had came out. I read that, and it says that South Pittsburgh has 5 starters back on offense, 4 on defense. I would have thought that was a bigger number, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, last year, though, when we went and watched, Coach Grider, he plays a lot of kids.
Yeah, that's true.
He played a lot of kids, and that's a testament to him and his confidence in his coaches and his kids. And it'd be interesting. You know what? That's a little side note going down there this year. Are they going to have the crosswalk? It got damaged.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard any. I hadn't heard.
Talk to us, South Pitt.
I hadn't heard Roy complaining about that in a while.
Are they going to have the crosswalk over the highway, or are they going to do away with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard.
It got damaged pretty bad.
Yeah, I knew that. A truck hit it, didn't it? Yeah.
That's just such an interesting place to go watch a game.
I love it, man. I think, Lee, we talked about this, and we hadn't told the audience yet, but I don't think we're going to do our show remotely this year. I mean, with the mask mandates, it's kind of hard to do a TV show wearing a mask. So I suspect we'll probably do our shows here this year. I'm still going to travel to games, but I think it's going to be a bit much, don't you?
Well, it will. Try, like you said, you're trying to set up. It's hot when we get there to set up. Then you're in a mask, and they can't. Obviously, you want to be as safe as possible and not jeopardize any team.
Right, exactly.
By showing up and breaking the rules. I may not agree with those rules or do agree or whatever, but I wouldn't put another team in jeopardy.
Right. As long as they're there, we'll follow.
That's right. We maybe too hard to do this with a mask on.
But what I was getting at with all that, Lee, is I'm still going to go to South Pittsburgh and watch a football game this year.
Yes, sir.
At some point, whether we do it live or not.
Right.
Copper Basin, Lee, was a team, and I was a big fan of Coach Grabowski. I think he does a great job. His son, Bryson, had a big year last year, 2,200 yards passing, 19 TDs. They got Joe Boggs back, Joseph Johnson, the big offensive lineman. And they got Chance Rollins at center. So he's got a lot of his key elements back in place this year. I think the Cougars are going to have a pretty good year this year.
I think so, too. I do.
Now, they won 6 of their first 7 games lead to start the year last year. They've got 2 games against North Carolina teams. I don't know how that's going to work out. I hadn't heard anything about North Carolina.
I haven't either, but that's there again. You don't know.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. Sells Creek lead the Panthers. Ron Cox's squad 4-7, 2-2. They did lose to Clay County in the first round last year. Got a lot of starters back this year, though.
They do. 8 on one side, 9 on the other.
Yeah, and Race May, the offensive lineman, along with Maddox. Is that Beeson? Is that
Beeson?
Beeson, senior, and then they got Braden Penny back at quarterback. So they got some elements there. Ron Cox again, 12 and 57 in 7 years, but they seem to be playing better of late. I mean, they were 4-7 last year, and most of those kids are back. Whitwell, team that we really didn't expect to drop off the mat like they did under Coach Olinger. Yeah, Olinger last year. But they got new management there, Lee. What are your thoughts on that?
I saw a couple of videos with their new coach, Coach Cable, or Cobble. Is it Cable? Cable, I think it is.
That's the reason why I let you say it, because I wasn't sure. Cabell.
Yeah.
I can spell
I
it
saw
for
a
you.
couple of videos on the guy with him addressing his team and talking to some media, and
I would say Cabell is how I would say it.
I liked what I heard out of him. But the thing that I think Whitwell's needing is just stability. They've been through a lot of coaching changes.
Yeah, they have.
After a state title run, they went through a couple.
Coach Bolden
You
left.
know, they've had a lot of mix in the staff, and I think they just need stability. They got the players.
Yeah. Well, they come off of that undefeated title run in 2018 lead, and they lost 6 games.
Yep.
Lost their first 6 games, and 8 of the first 9 games. I think they did upset Monterey in the first round, but you know, I don't know. I don't know if they move up any this year or not. I'm not real sure. It's kind of, we don't really know. We don't know what to expect, not knowing anything about the new leadership over there. And I'm not saying he's not going to get the job done. We don't know. Lookout Valley finished up in that 5th spot lead. The Yellow Jackets, Josh Payne, 0-10, 0-4. I don't see much happening there. Do you?
No, I mean the truth of the matter is this region belongs to South Pittsburgh.
Yeah. He was the defensive coordinator at Signal Mountain. That was his first year.
Correct.
Last year. He's got his work cut out for him, and I hope he does. Hope he does do a good job. I hope they get a win this year.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. I never, ever, Mike, ever look at an 0-10 coach as a failure.
Oh no.
You know why? Gary Rankin went 0-10 his first year at Smith County
yep.
and went 0 his first year at Riverdale.
Yep.
And how many wins does that man have?
Yeah, so it's what, 340, something like that. It's a
So
lot.
I don't look at a 0-10 like most people do because
that's room to improve, right?
But you don't know what he walked into.
Yeah.
So Coach Payne, get after it this year.
Get after it, brother. All right, Lee. So recapping there, we like South Pitt at 1. We like Copper Basin at 2.
Yes.
Sales Creek, Whitwell, I think that they potentially flip-flop. I think they fight for that 3rd spot. And then I think Lookout Valley probably brings up the tail end again this year. Region 4, Lee. Monterey won that region last year, but your good buddy Scott Clemens has got a heck of a squad coming in back for Gordonsville this year.
I think so. I as of right now, I think Gordonsville takes that region. They're very. Levi Crosland's an excellent ball player. Matthew Albritton, he was a freshman last year. Took a lot of snaps.
Yeah.
Took a lot of lumps early in the year.
Right.
But they got to the 3rd round, and of course they ran into South Pittsburgh, but made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs. And I think that in particular, Matthew Albritton, I think he grew up a lot last year.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be very comfortable behind the helm. And I think Coach Clemens knows what he's doing. And they got 8 returners on offense and 9 on defense.
That's a good thing.
So I like the Tigers this year to come out of Region 4-1. I'd like them on top of that region.
And they did, like you said, Lee, began the season 1-5 last year. They did rebound as Albritton got a little experience under his belt.
Yes.
Won 4 of the final 6 games. So you got to like what you see with the Tigers coming into this 2020
right.
season. Jumping back up, though, Lee, Monterey did win this region. Scott Hughes, 39-28 in his 6 years there at Monterey. Double-digit wins, 10-1, man. A great year. Did get upset by that Whitwell squad in the first round, 21-7. He's only got 4 starters back on both sides of the ball. What do you think the Wildcats do this year?
I don't think they repeat a 10-1 season.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think so. I think, they're going to compete.
Yeah.
They're going to be very competitive. I just don't see them having that run like they had last year.
Well, they did beat Gordonsville last year,
They
28-21, so that'll be an interesting rematch there. But I agree with you, Lee. I think they fall off a little bit. Clay County was a squad that I was really impressed with. I think Jake Johnson's done a good job in his 2 years there, taking over for our buddy Matthew Bates.
Yeah.
8-4 last year. They did fall to South Pittsburgh in the second round, but he's got 8 starters back on both sides of the ball.
He does.
And he's led by nose guard Dalton Gold, who is a preseason All-State, and he's going to lead a pretty solid line for him.
Yes, and I tell you what, the former head coach at Smith County, Coach Dickerson, Mike D, I call him.
Yeah.
He's a DC at Clay County, and I'm gonna tell you that guy can coach defense. He can coach defense. So I like Clay County to be pretty doggone solid.
Do they compete with Gordonsville for that one spot?
It'll be tight.
Be tight.
Be tight. I like Gordonsville. I think Gordonsville might have a little bit more weapons.
Yeah.
But I think Clay County defensively, they're going to get after it, and I think they know what they're doing. So I like them.
Now, moving on down, Lee, Joe Burns, Coach Atkins, I think that may have been the worst season I recall a Red Devil squad having in a long time. Only 2 wins. I'm not sure that things get much better over at Cedar Hill this year. I don't know. They've got 5 back on offense, 6 on defense.
I know they've had Robertson County. They did a little bit of rezoning.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that didn't. I need to find out. I wonder if that did anything to Coach Atkins'.
East Robertson has gotten stouter. Now, I do know that.
That's right.
You know, and I don't know if that was at the expense of Joe Burns or not. I kind of suspect it probably was to an extent. But he's got Maxie Owens back at linebacker, Emmanuel Barbie, Garrett Little, big offensive lineman, and then Ryan Dolan is going to be, I think he's expected to or projected to play quarterback. I'd like to see the Red Devils get back to winning football. It's just I grew up, or I say I grew up, my kids grew up playing Joe Burns in the 2005 to 2010, that era there when they were so dominant, made a state title run.
Yes.
Of course, at Cascade, they were in the same region. So I got accustomed to really good football when you go to Joe Burns, and I hope they get back to that.
Yes, sir.
Red Bowling Springs, Lee, another team with a new coach. Sean Link takes over. He was the head softball coach, assistant football coach last year. Takes over for Matt Swooner, 1-8 last year. They do have a lot of starters back.
They do. The problem, Red Bowling is numbers. You know, same with Pickett County. You know, how many players can you get? I know a lot of these guys, they get 1 or 2 key injuries.
They're done.
And they don't know if they got enough people to start.
Right.
You know, so.
Right. Ray Reagan back at Pickett County, 4-17 in 2 years there. That just Bobcats never have had a solid program, and I don't think much changes this year. So recapping this region, Lee, we like Gordonsville to take this region.
I do.
I think Clay County and Monterey probably compete for that 2-3.
I think so.
You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
I kind of favor Clay County, I think, to take the 2.
I do.
I like Monterey, potentially get to 2. I see them more as a 3 seed. And then I think Joe Burns, despite the fact that I don't see them getting a lot better this year, they just don't have too much they have to beat to take that 4th spot. All right, Lee, so that's Region 3 and 4. We'll put those up on the screen for our audience to see, and then we'll come right back after we display the predictions for Region 3 and 4. All right, Lee, that was Regions 3 and 4. We're going to pick right back up with Region 5. And I think, personally, for me, Lee, Region 5, without a doubt, the hardest region in Class 1A to predict.
Yes.
Top to bottom, these teams are like, gosh almighty. You know, remember last year Fayetteville had to forfeit all those wins. They never did lose a game on the field, but they had to forfeit and wound up missing the playoffs because of all the forfeit losses.
Correct.
Which gave Bob Robertson, our buddy Bob Robertson's Huntland Hornets, the 1 seed. I think they tied with Cornersville for the region, but with the head-to-head battle over Cornersville, that gave Huntland the victory in the 1 seed, and they wound up making all the way to quarterfinals. Wound up getting knocked out by Huntington. They actually played a team that had them overmatched. They played them pretty good there for the first half. They do lose Cameron Reed. I think that's going to be a big lick to them right there.
It is. They got, obviously got Colby Stewart coming back, and then they got Peyton Reed as a senior quarterback.
That's Kermit's son, our buddy Kermit Reed's son.
Right, and Stovall, offensive guard who's a senior, and then another senior running back in Michael Mulraney. You see a little drop off this year.
I don't. Now the people I know over that way don't think there's going to be any drop off. They have got 6 starters back on offense, right. 7 on defense. So I
shouldn't have said drop off, but I think the competition around them might
gets better.
Climbing.
I will agree with that. I think Huntland quite possibly will have as good a team as they had last year, despite the fact they lose Cameron Reed. But I think, like you just mentioned, all the teams around them are going to get a lot better. Cornersville is one of those teams.
That's right.
Gerard Randolph, of course, they made back-to-back title runs a couple of years ago. He's got a young, talented team. Barrett Powers, Trenton Posey, J.C. Spray, Garrett Alder. A lot of names that we're going to be hearing a lot out of this year. I think the Bulldogs are going to be strong.
I think so. Like you said, this region is wide open.
And they beat Moore County 10-7 last year. I think Huntland was their only region loss, but Huntland put it on pretty good. They beat them 35-7 to get that 1 seed. Mount Pleasant is an intriguing team, Lee Teat. I think they potentially may make some noise this year. Bronson Bradley's team, I've been very impressed with them. I'm kicking myself in the rear end right now because they've got a new quarterback, and he tagged me on Twitter, and I'm very mad at myself that I don't have him on my list, Lee. I thought I had it on there, but I'm not seeing it. They do have Ethan Beasley back, fullback, and my apologies, Coach Bradley. You're going to shoot me when you see this, but I know you got a talented young quarterback, and I know he's working hard. But I think Mount Pleasant is going to be tough this year, Lee. What's your thoughts on Mount Pleasant?
Well, they're definitely going to be strong.
Be strong.
I don't know, man. They just seem to playoff time. They start having problems.
Yeah.
They got to get over that hurdle. They just got to get over that hurdle.
Well, there's a lot of good teams in this region, and we kind of mentioned Fayetteville. I think Fayetteville's going to be stout again this year also. They've got a lot of kids coming back. And excuse me, Lee, I guess it's pretty obvious what I'm doing here. I'm trying to scroll down and find that quarterback's name and Donovan Stewart doesn't have him listed. I'm going to kill Donovan. He's not listed on Donovan's key returners. Well, I will find that out, and I will give him some. I will give him some love on the next show we do, Lee, because that kid's really working hard. I'm a little frustrated with myself that I don't have that in my notes at the time. But I think Bronson Bradley's squad is going to be right in the mix there for that 2, possibly region title. They're going to be in the 2, 3, 4 spot. Yep. And I didn't really know how to pick this region because I mean, you could make an argument for almost every team to finish.
A lot of parity.
Richland is another team. Nick Patterson, man, that dude is doing a heck of a job there at Richland. I've been really impressed with them, 9-12 in 2 years there with the Raiders, and they looked really good. They got a lot of starters back, Lee. 8 on offense, 7 on defense. They got a Peyton Sharp, sophomore quarterback, had a good year for them last year. I think they're going to, they did get that 4th playoff spot. I think they're going to be in the running probably for that 3rd, 4th spot again this year.
I think so too.
You've got Austin Seals, another kid. Sam Edwards back. They got some talent back.
Well, you know what I like about Coach Patterson? Look who's the defensive coordinator for.
Bobby Sharp. Yeah.
You can't go sit under that man's tutelage and not learn something.
Exactly. And I follow him on Facebook, Lee, and he's always putting up stuff that I enjoy reading, and I think he's doing a fine job there at Richland.
I think so. I think he's turning it around.
Moore County's a team I'm very intrigued because I absolutely love the hire.
Man.
Chris White, What a resume, man! He
Unbelievable hire.
Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator up at Knox Catholic with those title wins over with Coach Matthews, our buddy up there. And he also coached under Thomas McDaniel at Oakland when he won a title. Coached under the man, Coach Rankin there at Riverdale. So, man, this dude's got a resume to die for.
He does, and I tell you what, he's got a pretty good stable of talent that he's walking into.
Yep.
Coach Dobbs, left, and now I think he's over at Oakland with his buddy.
Yep.
But he left a pretty good stable of talent there for Coach White. Dylan Scruggs, Tyler Smith, Braden Cashin. I mean, that's Kyler Parker.
Yep.
That's a pretty good stable of talent to come walking into, I think.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I talked to Kyler's dad the other day. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, and they're thinking they're going to make some noise. They may be a sleeper in this region. And I kind of tend to agree with him. I know he said Coach White has really pushed them in the weight room right now, so expect that team to be a lot bigger, a lot stronger.
I don't think you'll see them in the wing tee.
Don't think so?
No, I don't.
Well, you're probably right. I don't think. Well, I don't know what he's going to run. He's always been on the defensive side of the ball, so I don't know what his offensive philosophy is.
I think he'll pound the rock, but I think it'll be more traditional pro style, pro set stuff. I don't think you'll see the wing tee.
Yeah. Well, that'd definitely be a change of pace there at Moore County.
Yeah.
Moving on down, Lee, we talked about Fayetteville. Kenny Marson did a really good job there in his first year. I think all 6 of their losses were forfeits. They didn't lose a game on the field. So you gotta expect them to be strong. And my understanding is this junior class they got is really good, Lee. Of course, they got kids like Buchanan, senior linebacker, and then Jacob Medlin at quarterback. They got Zayshawn Pullen at cornerback, another senior. So he's got some senior leadership, leading a very strong junior sophomore class. I like them and probably Cornersville. I think maybe the top 2 in this region, but there's not, as we mentioned, there's not a lot of gap from 1 to 5. Really.
No, really, just one bad bounce.
Yeah, exactly. And Moore County did beat, I forgot to mention that, did beat Huntland last year. That was their only region loss other than the on-the-field loss to Fayetteville. So.
Well, like I said, I'm with you, though, Mike. I think this is a 1-2. I would look at Cornersville right now and Fayetteville. And then 3-4 would be Huntland, Mount Pleasant fighting it out with the potential to take the 2.
Yep.
So I'm in agreement with you on that.
All right, Lee, well, let's move on down to Region 6. Region 6, Huntington has been the bell cow there for several years. And, Eric Swenson, despite the fact he's only got 1 starter back on offense, 2 on defense, when you were winning games by 49 points, and that's what they won their region competition by 49 points last year, Lee. The young kids got a lot of playing time.
They did, but the biggest thing for me with Coach Swenson is, yes, he lost Hunter Inslee and Brandon Law. I think he's going to probably have the hardest time replacing his Connor Pearson.
I knew you was going to say that. Yep.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he can, and I think he's got plenty of athletes.
Darius Gordon, Jacob Robertson, Blake Bradley. I think he's
Grant
a senior.
Bartholomew.
Yeah. So he's got players there.
He does.
And these kids have got a lot of snaps.
They have.
They may not be returning starters, but they've had a lot of snaps.
We talk about it all the time. They played 14 games last year.
Yep. And how many games did they play over the career?
That's right. So they're ready to go.
McEwen, Lee, Coach Pullen's team had a big year last year, 8-4, 5-1. He's got Isaac Carter back at running back, Colby Wright, center, Joseph Willis, big offensive lineman back, senior. Except for Huntington, now, Lee, they outscored region opponents by 38 points a game last year.
That's right.
They did lose to Huntington by 35, but they dominated this region, other than obviously Huntington. So what do you think? What do you expect out of them this year?
I'll be honest with you, Mike. I like them in a 3 or a 4 spot.
3 or 4 spot?
Yeah, I do.
That must mean you're thinking Coach Hanna's Collinwood Trojans maybe move up and claim that 2 spot potentially.
Yes, I do.
I like him also. I like Peyton Ward at quarterback, and then Dylan, or actually he's listed at quarterback. Dylan Scott was a quarterback. He had 1,211 passing yards, 8 TDs. He did have 9 INTs, Lee. That's got to come down. You don't want a TD to interception ratio like
That's correct.
That's a problem that they're going to have to get fixed. Joe Houston Thompson is a tight end junior, so he's got some good building blocks.
He does.
I think for this Trojan team, I like Coach Hanna's team to take 2. Brewston Lee took that 4th spot. What's your thoughts on them?
They got 6 returners on both sides of the ball. Malik Mathis, running back down there, and then Amarius Hart. It's 2 of their key players. I don't know, Mike. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I think they may drop back a little. I mean, they only beat Middleton by 1 point last year, Lee. So I'm thinking, and of course Middleton didn't win a region game, so I'm thinking maybe they kind of fall back in the pack a little this year because I can't picture Wayne County and the Wildcats. Kerry Cruz team. He was 2-8 last year, taking over for Coach Rice, but he ran that offense for the better part of 26 years. He knows that Veer offense. He knows the system. I gotta think that they're not going to repeat a 2-8 season this year. Do you?
No, and I tell you what, man, Wayne County. How would you like to follow up Coach Rice though? It's tough. Tough gig. But I can't see Wayne County staying 2-8.
No, I can't
see it. I can't see it. I think they've got too much pride for one thing.
Yeah.
I think they might compete for the 3 or the 4.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Hunter Staggs is back. Clay Bogus at running back. Luke Sessler, big offensive lineman. He's only a junior, Lee. He's going to be tough up front, leading the way in that veer. I agree with you. I think they probably fight with McEwen for that 3rd, 4th spot.
Right.
In all likelihood. And then Middleton again, 0-10, 0-6. They do have 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. Luke Turner's quarterback senior, Tyler Dickel. I omitted Perry County at my mistake. Coach Zimmer, he was 1-9 last year in his first year. Again, I don't see either one of these 2 teams moving up any in this region. You?
Not right now.
Not right now.
No.
All right, Mr. Teat. Well, let's go ahead and throw up this Region 5, 6. Throw up a screenshot, show what our projections are for those regions, and we'll roll right into Region 7 and 8 right after this.
All right.
All right, Lee, that was Regions 5 and 6. We're going to go right into Region 7. Region 7 was dominated, and when I say dominated, Lake County Falcons won their region games by 45 points a game last year. That was one of the best 1-18s I've ever seen.
One of the biggest 1-18s I've ever seen. Across the board, they were stout. Big thing, though, Coach Puckett is now at Shelbyville.
That's correct.
So I don't know a thing in the world about Coach Quinn. I just know he came from school out of Georgia.
Yeah. Offensive coordinator, I think. So I guess he's more obviously an offensive-minded coach.
Correct.
I don't know. I know Coach Puckett took some of his coaches with him to Shelbyville. I don't know for sure which one stayed, and if it was on the. I would assume Coach Puckett probably took maybe his DC with him. I don't know that.
I'm not positive on it. I do know, though, that trying to replace Tanner Snyder and Larry Tubbs, that was the 1-2 punch down there for years.
Yep.
Not just last year.
Yep.
I mean, they've been competitive for a long time with them 2 guys, and obviously Coach Puckett's son has gone with him to Shelbyville.
Yep.
But you can't win that many ball games and it not rub off on every other player.
Right, I agree.
So I like Lake County. Maybe you two spot.
Yeah, I think so, Lee, because I really like this West Carroll team. They've got 16 total starters, 8 on each side of the ball coming back. Coach Wolf's squad did make it to the quarterfinals last year. The War Eagles have Jack Barrow back, the tight end. He's 6'5", 210. Devin Rader, running back. Cody Wildridge. Nick Blankenship. So they've got a lot of kids up front. Also Jesse Mounts.
Big kid right
6'4", 280. He's going to be plowing away, man. Another lineman, Grant Green. I mean, that's what you got to love. Center's back, White Hayes. You love the fact that you got all those linemen back, man, especially at the 1A level.
That's right.
Lee Teat,
and a senior quarterback.
And a senior quarterback. So, and the big tight end target. So they got all the ingredients to be successful this year. I really like the War Eagles. I think they're kind of my sleeper this year, I think, in 1A.
Okay.
To potentially go to Cookville. I like them, matter of fact, to make a run. Moving on down, Lee Greenfield, 7-4, 4-2. Don Pitt squad had a good year last year. They've got 7 starters back on both sides.
They do. Keelan Thomas, I think, is the highlight. Linebacker, running back for them. I think. Man, there's just not much movement. Not much place to go.
Yeah, but I mean, they did play West Carroll close. They only lost 8-0 last year. That was one of their 2 region losses. Obviously, lost to Lake County too. So they may potentially compete with Lake County. Do you think that's a possibility for a home spot?
I don't know, man.
You don't see that?
I don't. I might be a little far.
So I'm reaching a little bit on that.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like West Carroll probably to come out of this region, and Lake County as a 2 spot is what I'm looking at right now, is what I think. But, man, look, here you go. You got Greenfield, Dresden.
Yeah, Dresden is interesting, Lee. They had some really great years under our buddy Derek Ring, who's
That's
now
right.
at GP. Haven't really done much of anything since he left. Wes Johnson is in his 2nd year now. He was a 2010 grad of McNary Central. He recently coached college ball at SMU, but he's 4-7 in his first year. 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. They got Zach Crawford, senior quarterback, Chandler Turnbow, wide receiver. They've got Trevor Moore, tight end, Matthew Parker, also listed as a tight end linebacker. Right. They got some talent, Lee. Do you think possibly they move up at least a spot?
3 spot.
3 spot. That's kind of what I'm looking at as well. I think if the cards fall right, maybe they challenge Lake County this year.
This is a pretty. I think take Lake County and West Carroll out of this.
Yeah.
It's pretty wide open.
Pretty wide open. You got South Fulton, the Red Devils. Eric Knott's squad is 5-5 last year. They've got a large amount of starters back, 6 on offense, 7 on defense. They may get in the mix.
That's right. And
then bringing up the rear end is Humboldt and Gleason. The Vikings really haven't. They used to be a really good. I'm sure you remember that. Yeah. They had some teams, man, but. As of late, they just 1-9 last year. They do have 15 starters back, but off a 1-9 team, I don't know that that's a good thing.
A lot of juniors and seniors, so they're gonna have to pick it up.
Gleason is the last place team, the Bulldogs, Noah Lampkin's squad. 9 starters back on both sides of the ball. Brady Witherspoon back at quarterback, Elijah Young tight end, and then they got Isaac Denton as a free safety. This is a free safety, a junior. I don't see those teams moving up anyway. I think the middle of this region, like we said, we like West Carroll. I think Lake County should have enough to hold on to that 2 spot, and then I think look at Dresden at potentially the 3, and then I see Greenfield and South Fulton fighting for that 4 spot, potentially 3rd spot. That's kind of the way I see this region laying out. Region 8, Lee, region we don't really know a whole lot about. I do know Memphis Middle, 10-2 last year, has got a huge amount of talent back.
Crazy.
Joyner Stevens is a running back, 1,211 yards last year, 15 TDs. And then you look at Antonius, am I saying that right? Antonius Moore. I told you I was going to struggle with these names. 813 rushing yards, 13 TDs. Kevon Ransford, 803 yards, 14 TDs. So you got 3 tailbacks that was in the 1,000-yard range last year, Lee. All back.
Crazy.
All back. And they played West Carroll very close in the second round. This is another team you got to put in that sleeper category.
Yes.
8 starters back on offense, 9 on defense. What's your thoughts?
I like them at the. I like them at the 1 or the 2.
1 or the 2. I like them at the 1 or 2 also, Lee. But the reason why I like them at, I even challenged that they may be at 1, and that's because Freedom Prep, who had to forfeit 7 games, coming back off that suspension.
Right.
I think
didn't lose a game on the field.
Yeah, they didn't lose a game on the field, and they've got some ball players back. Quincy,
yes, they do.
Yeah, Quincy Briggs is an athlete. He's back. He's listed as an athlete, junior. Javon Perkins, Tyler Woodard, Bryson Williams. I mean, a lot of names and a lot of talent for Coach Cook. I think you got to put them in potentially middle as the most likely teams to win this region. You agree with that?
Yes, sir, definitely. And what's going to be interesting is when they square up. You know, I think Memphis Middle, with all those tailbacks, they could keep the ball on the ground, maybe keep the ball away from them a little bit.
Yep.
You know, but these regions are very hard to predict because there's a lot of movement. Talent moves around in Memphis.
It does.
It does. It moves around all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit hard to predict.
And I don't know what's going to happen with all this COVID stuff, too, because I don't think Memphis is even going to school. Is that correct? I think Shelby County, they're strictly online.
Yeah, I think most metropolitan areas are going to be distance learning. For at least the first.
Williamson County, what are they? Choice or
choice, like Rutherford's Choice.
All right.
So this, like you said, this will be interesting to see
how it's going to play out.
How these, especially in the metropolitan areas.
Yeah. MASE, Lee Teat, Julius Jackson, 8-4, 5-2, got knocked out 56-0 by Lake County. 8 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Isaiah Williams, Jalen Murphy, wide receivers, seniors, all seniors, and then they've got a couple of pretty solid juniors coming back. They finished 2. Where do you see them at this year?
3.
3. You like them at 3? I do as well. I think they finish in that 3rd spot pretty firmly. I like Memphis East, the team that finished 3rd last year, I think, with 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. I think Katari Donald, head coach there, 6-15 in his 2 years. I don't think they improve on that 5-5. Potentially, maybe they go down a little.
Well,
or 5-5 regular, 6-5. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, he's come. The first year he was there, he was winless.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
I mean, he
so he's 6-15, but he went 0-10 his first year.
That's true. That's a good point. So they
maybe they can compete for the 4.
Booker T. Washington, the other team, 5 starters back on offense and 4 on defense. Lee Winston Delaney is the head coach there, 8-23 in 3 years. I don't think the Warriors. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. What do you think? I think with Freedom Prep back in the picture, I think that's going to put them out of the picture in the playoffs.
I think so too, man.
Westwood, the Longhorns, Coach Taylor comes over.
Took over for Coach Copeland.
Yep, exactly. 4-6 last year. 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Kevin Shannon, offensive lineman. Again, I don't see any place to move up, Lee. Do you?
Mm-mm.
So this, and again, we know a lot less about this Region 8 than we do a lot of other regions. We're kind of moving through it kind of fast, and it's a huge region.
It is.
Oak Haven, the Hawks, 2-8 last year, 8 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. Justin Shaw, Walter Hammonds, Marcus Hampton, some of the names for this Oak Haven squad coming back. Again, Lee, I don't see a lot of improvement on that 2-8 record. A lot of these smaller schools, you know, they get stuck with games like Whitehaven, White Station, because there's nobody to play in non-region. So not only are they getting hammered by the upper teams in their region, they're getting hammered by their non-region competition as well.
Well, the dynamic in Memphis is so different.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think you would have very many 1A schools in Memphis.
Right.
But they do. They have a lot of these like academies, schools.
Right.
You know, it's interesting.
And they only have 4 Class 6A teams.
That's right. It's interesting to see how they do it down there, but it's so hard to predict. Like you said, there's so many athletes and they're moving around. And you don't really get a lot of information from them.
Right.
We do from Coach Salisbury and, you know, Germantown, those type of programs. But it's hard to track these.
Right. Memphis Business Academy, Todd Richardson, 2-7. They only got 3 starters back on each side of the ball. And then moving on down, Bluff City, 1-9 last year. Lee, only win was the forfeit over Freedom Prep. They do have
got all 11 back on both sides of the ball.
It's a new school, so they got everybody back. But I don't know. Maybe they get a win this year. Maybe they get a couple of wins.
That's the ... team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't know. You just kind of
don't know.
Yep.
Don't know. All right, Lee. Well, that's a recap of Region 7 and 8. We'll put that up on the screen, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up our discussion on Class 1A. All right, Lee, that's going to conclude our Class 1A Region Preview Show. We appreciate all you folks tuning in with us again this year. I think this is the 6th year we've done this, Lee.
Right.
As always, we appreciate Jim Thompson and the folks over at Coach T signing on with us again this year. We are the only show that Coach T endorses and backs on his website, and we hope all you guys will. If you haven't joined up with Coach T, you need to check out that website. It's a great website if you're a high school sports fan, not just football, any sport. They cover it all. And try to look into that Plus membership. You get a lot more options on the website if you sign up as a Coach T Plus member. Always a good thing, especially for those of you who have high school kids and like following sports. Another sponsor, Lee, Elaborate Images, Marsha Howard. Is responsible for all of our shirts, hats, banners, and we can hook you up with that stuff. Put you in touch. Matter of fact, you can go to our website, FridayMainEvent.com, Lee, and we've got a link to Marsha there. You like the Friday Main Event attire? Lee and I are too darn poor to buy hats for everybody that wants them, but we'll sure put you in a position where you can purchase one, and we would love to have you advertise them for us.
Sure.
Wearing this gear, it's pretty cool. I get a lot of people that want a hat.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of people want to buy one, but
I'll try to I'll get 4 or 5 a year and hand out. But
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You want one and another. We can put you on the spot right there.
We can hook you up exactly. But Lee, like I said earlier in the show, man, we plan to probably do our shows. I'm looking at maybe Thursday night. We'll set that in stone a little bit later on as we see what happens with the season.
Like I said, my son's going to be a freshman, so his freshman schedule may be
we'll have
playing around with that too.
Yeah,
so
we'll have to see how it's going to work out. When you get that schedule, we'll figure something out. But again, I'm Mike Molder. He's Lee Teat. This has been the Friday Main Event. We'll catch you guys tomorrow night for Class 2A Region Previews. We're out.